Mr. Kramer on the drums.
My name is Joey Kramer. I'm the drummer with Aerosmith, and I'm really grateful to be able to be here to tell you a little bit about my new book, Hit Hard, the story of hitting rock bottom at the top. Not long after I had my breakdown, I was back on the rock and roll trail again, and during an interview, I chose to be very forthcoming about my bout with depression and anxiety. Shortly thereafter, there was an overwhelming response from people thanking me. Somehow, identifying with my story allowed them to admit that they too were suffering from anxiety and depression. And if my story can help even one person, then the 4 years I've spent writing this book is well worth the effort. When I grew up in the 50s, I lived with my family in the Bronx and then in Yonkers, New York. It was my mom, my dad, my 3 little sisters, and little Joey always running around getting into trouble. Now, if that sounds like a setup for a sitcom, believe me, there was not much of a laugh track. So in the beginning, it didn't even look like I was going to be a part of this band. When I first started to jam with Joe Perry and Tom Hamilton, Joe called me and said he didn't think that they were going to be using me because a friend of theirs who played the drums was coming up from New York. And my response was, well, who's your friend? Because maybe I know him, because I'm from New York too. And lo and behold, their friend from New York was none other than Steven Tyler. And the rest is pretty much history. As the band went on and we became bigger and better and started making more money, there was a lot of people around us that said that they loved us and said that they cared about us, but the reality of that was that we really didn't have too many friends at all. One night I had an accident in my Ferrari. I drove into the back of a truck, and the result of that was that I had stitches in my head, broke open a main artery in my head. Healing that wound was going to take a while. My managers wouldn't hear of us canceling shows so that they couldn't make their money. So they came up and made a visit to the doctor, and one of my managers asked the doctor if there was some sort of a blood transfusion or something he could put on the side of the stage so that I could play and we didn't have to miss the shows. I had an emotional breakdown in 1995 while we were doing the album 9 Lives. Part of what contributed to my emotional breakdown was that so much of my life I felt unsupported and alone. And while I was in treatment, my manager at the time told my bandmates to leave me alone and let me do my work. And then he came to me and said, "See, your partners really don't care about you." And there's so much more in this book, Hit Hard, that's the stuff of rock and roll casualties and human frailties. A pervasive theme of my confusion between love and abuse. This book also has in its pages a veritable scrapbook of photos giving you, the reader, an inside look deep behind the scenes of my private life and my incredible journey with Aerosmith. This rock and roll memoir is a little different. Yeah, you'll get the crazy insider war stories, but this is really a book about life, about hitting rock bottom while my band was on the top of the world, dealing with pain, life on life's terms, and overcoming physical and substance abuse in the extreme. It's a book about how I've been able to apply the lessons I've learned over the years in my day-to-day life. I hope that by revealing the details of my trials and tribulations, I can help people change their lives for the better.